Hey, Barrett Edelstein here, your celeb expert and your Celeb Savant. Celeb Savant is a weekly entertainment show. We have long-form career retrospective type interviews with celebrities, singers, actors, and industry experts. Kevin Fraser is one of South Africa's most viewed and enjoyed comedians, as well as an online content creator with a fan base locally and globally, who has repeatedly broken the 1 million views benchmark with his daily observations and hilarious satires. At a young age, Kevin realized he could not only make people dance, but laugh a little too. His passion for performance and his natural talent started to evolve into something truly unique as he began releasing online videos in 2015 about his experience as an expat abroad, and did so through the guise of stereotypical South African personas. The success of these videos were instantaneous. Kevin's career took off and his fan base exploded across all his online platforms. As his popularity continued to grow, Kevin took the stage in 2022 with his debut show, Minister of Entertainment. His trademark entertainment comedy style combines stand-up comedy, dance, and performance skills that captivates audiences, bringing out the laughter, joy, and memorable moments that sets Kevin Fraser as a standalone, not-to-be-missed entertainment ambassador. Up next on Celeb Savant, we've got Kevin Fraser. Where do we find you in the world? How are you doing, and what's happening in your life?
Thanks so much, Brad. Yeah, at the moment, I'm currently sitting possibly at the corner pillar of Australia in the Great Barrier Reef, just on a small break amidst a little regional tour here, and then getting really itchy feet because I'm coming back home, and yeah, very excited.
So now let's rewind to the very beginning. At what age did you realize, cool, I'm funny, and I can use this as part of my career path? And how did that journey accumulate to where we are today?
Well, I thought I was pretty funny from like the moment I started trying on my sister's dresses, which was probably at around about 6 years old.
Okay.
But after being told off for most of my life after that, I think to take it seriously as a career, there was this sort of weird period between being a DJ and then kind of finding this online space to express myself and my views, I guess, which was in 2014. So I would have been 23 years old at the time. And I was doing a lot of traveling, mostly in Australia. And I just kind of took to doing video as a way to keep people in the loop with my diary. People comment and really enjoying my content. It reaffirmed that this could be an angle.
From the videos to the stand-up world, how did that transition happen?
One day, obviously being in Australia at the time, there was a time difference, and I posted a video in the evening, and I woke up the next day and this video gone buck viral, and it was a train ride I'd done in Melbourne. I was just commenting on stuff. And there was a athlete, Demartey Penner to be exact, sitting in Angola at the time. He reshared a video and it went super, super, super viral on his channel. And there were people asking on his channel, where do I get tickets to see this guy? I'm like, tickets? Like what like a show, like a comedy show? Like are you what do you mean? I just play music. I'm a DJ and whatever. And then I thought that, I could possibly do this. I've always wanted to do a show. Maybe let's do one. Let's try and curate a show, and let's do it in the most remote part of the world that I can. And because if I bomb, I can at least crawl back into my shell and then forget that ever happened. And that show was Perth in Australia, and I did it. It was nerve-wracking. I still can't watch that DVD. It's just so fresh. But I loved it. I knew when I came back home, I loved it. But that was a very curated performance. So between that moment and actually trying to take on stand-up as a career has been a weird transition, because then it's regular gigs, regular content. So it was just a practice game after that, I think.
What do you mean by curated when you said it was a curated show?
I really kind of crafted the entire show from the comedy side. These are my jokes. This is the content. This is how I'm going to go down this comedy game, because I'd never done stand up the sort of traditional route, but I'd always been on stage as a DJ. I know what that whole it's the same emotional journey. I think you're getting on stage, you got to deal with the nerves. It's people. It's, what song do I play next? Where we're going with this? Who's the
Yeah.
crowd here tonight?
Yeah.
It's the same in comedy. You got to be funny. But, after a bit of, I guess, stage time in that format, you can then relax a bit more and you can play with
Okay.
the audience. You can get that confidence. Yeah.
And do you still do DJ work?
I actually have been getting into it a bit more again, but the beauty of my show now is I bring all of that energy into my live show. So I'm not just a traditional stand-up. I put on a performance. There's music, there's dance, I try and bring it all together
Oh,
so
okay, I
that
understand.
I could yeah. So that's been a lot of fun, and it's really important to me, I think, to have that musical aspect because it's just music's been in my family, and I think that yeah, there's definitely a door open at the moment for what we're trying to create in the future with that and comedy together.
So it's basically amalgamation of the music and the comedy in sort of a show.
Yeah, I've tried to give it its own like name or acronym, but I'm failing hard. I'm like, could we call it Djamedy or Comedj? I don't know. Maybe there's a space.
So at what point did you decide, cool, I've been doing the stand-up for a while. Now I want to incorporate the music. When did that happen?
It kind of happened from the start. I feel like the music element helped support my show.
Okay.
For example, I would, if I'd be sitting down and go, right, let's write. You're a comedian, you have to write. I just can't do it like that. I have to go into a space where I'm just listening, and music makes me imagine stuff. It makes me think, and then, you can go on a journey with it. So, but it's gotten to the point, I think, I would say, especially after we came through the pandemic, after doing so much video
Mm.
stuff, I was like, I don't want to be on a video again. I had sort of refurbished my format a bit, and I was like, cool, how can we plug and play this quick so that I can be able to use this on stage without having to concentrate too hard on that and deviating from a punchline or
Yeah.
losing that energy of a joke. I didn't want to ever do that. So yeah, I've been able to get a bit of technologically savvy on stage and use it to my advantage. Yeah.
What motivates your comedy? Is it experiences, observations, combination of both?
Absolutely. I think most things I would draw on are I try and have three strings. So every guitar's got a set of strings. I go right. On one hand, it's just real life experiences that I've had, and how can I draw on those and give like a reenactment of that experience on stage? Boom. So personal life experiences, and boy, do we have enough of them in our beautiful country. The second string is this is probably just a Kevin thing. I just get frustrated with stuff in life, and it's a rant. Some of my rants have become very popular. So I've actually taken to using that on stage as well, where I can just rant about a topic or a subject just because we can.
Yeah.
Call it maybe load shedding. Like, let's go on a tangent. How can we pull that and just draw
Yeah.
as much blood out of it as possible? And then the third string is just evoking happiness and celebration. And I think that's my personal favorite. That's where the music comes in. That's where dance comes in. My favorite things to obviously dance. And you don't even have to say anything. You can let the audience depict that scene. So it's almost like, yeah, absurd physical theater with music. So I try and bring all those three aspects together. So that's what drives me.
Obviously, DJing and stand-up comedy are different. Would you think that potentially comedy is slightly harder because in DJing, you've got the added benefit of the music to help with the energy? I know you bring music into some of your comedy, but when you're doing a DJ set alone, you've got energy of music to help you. Whereas when you're just doing the stand-up
Yeah.
comedy, it's just you and your energy.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that was the weirdest moment in doing my first few shows. It's like you're backstage, you're ready. Oh, I've got this. I know how to do this. And I used to mix music. And then you run on stage, and then everybody's sitting in these comfortable chairs, and they're looking at you, and you're like, and then they scream and they go crazy. Oh, okay. And then it goes quiet. And it's like,
Yeah.
entertain me. I'm sitting there with my yogi sip, entertain me. And I'm like, oh, this is different. And I think that threw me on my first couple of shows. It threw me hard. And I think that the saving grace was knowing that you just have to, and I think I learned this from maybe drama school, is that just deliver, just keep delivering, go past your own thoughts and just keep delivering, exaggerate it, and perform. That's what you're there to do. And that's what the audience are there for.
So you said past your own thoughts. So those times when it was just quiet and you were just thrown by those elements of not having that music to support you, was it your mind talk that was like, and giving a bit of hesitation? What was the thing that threw you the most?
Exactly. It's like your mind's going like, you suck. Are your shoelaces untied? Are your underpants sticking out? Like, is this next joke really necessary? Is this person, like, I've had guys sitting in the front with their arms folded and just looking serious. The entire I eventually have to pretend that they're a tree or like a stop sign or something, so that I just ignore them. But then that same person will come up to you after the show and go, "That was the funniest thing I've ever watched in my life." And you're like, "Well, can you give me a smile next year? Because I had to pretend you were a shrub." And it's just because you got to remember these people are also listening. It's not just you're going to be crying the whole time. It's people are listening and they're taking away things or they're reflecting on it in your own hands. And that's been the beautiful part of the journey so far, is learning that, comedy is also a way to get people to think and to maybe put your views across and let people take advice from it here, there, and everywhere. But yeah, it's definitely, you've got to ignore that little guy in your head that's coming through and giving you a whole bunch of excuses. And also at the same time, if I'm talking about, let's say, supermarkets and experience at the supermarket, and your mind deviates to talk about something that happened at squash this afternoon, just go with it. Let it happen. Yeah. You'll come back around. Don't fight your own thoughts either.
Okay. So it's interesting you mentioned about watching the people. So are you aware of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming?
I have heard of it. I haven't focused too much on it.
So this might be something that helps you. So Neuro-Linguistic Programming is the way people process information, right? People have a dominant one, secondary, and tertiary, and there are three of them. So there's either visual people, auditory people, or kinesthetic people. Visual people are very quick. They create pictures of what you're talking about. Auditory people, and this is just a summary version of the whole concept. Auditory people, they hear the words, they understand the word, they put the word into the sentence, understand the sentence, then they put the words into the paragraph and so forth, and then they understand it. So for them, it takes a little bit longer. Then you've got kinesthetic, so saying that word again, kinesthetic people. For them, it's about the energy, the body language, the tone, the voice, all that kind of stuff. And they have to process all of that, watching you, and then understand it. Kinesthetic people look like they zoned out because they monitoring or processing the information, the things that are not seen, in inverted commas. So those shrubbery people or those tree people might be kinesthetic people because they just zoned out, 100%. But that's just where they're processing the information. So I don't know if this helps you or not. It's so interesting. But it helps me when I'm interacting with people.
It's so, and if you're a certain way, based on what you just said, then it's really hard to kind of like,
yes,
try and be in their shoes.
Yeah, you can't, basically, yeah. Because oftentimes...
the moral of the story is just water your trees.
Yes. So oftentimes when I'm with a kinesthetic person and they're like zoned out, I'm like, is this person actually listening to me? I'm like, okay, that's how they're processing. Are you still doing a lot of, moving back to the comedy and stuff, are you still doing a lot of videos on socials? Or is it a balance of each? You're doing more stand-up now? What is that happening in that space?
Totally. And I think because as the world has evolved with content, I mean, even just the last few years, I was chatting to someone earlier about how content's just evolved. And I'm still, in the beginning, I was doing quite long format landscape video. Now we're all portrait, we're TikTok, and we're Instagram reeling. And it's just short format. So I'm still pumping that out. And I think for content creators who, in my position, also do live shows, it's a way of selling yourself. And you're creating hits, your biggest videos are your hits, they're your, until I get a sharp voice for singing, then these are my hits, and it's totally important to do. And I've learned to get more relaxed about it. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself a while ago to just create viral content, but you can't do that. You can wake up and do several hours on a piece and it doesn't really go anywhere, or you could just open your phone and rant about something, then next minute you've broken the internet. So it's very hard to, it's a process.
Do you ever get frustrated with it and with social media and like chasing the virality of it? I don't know if that's a word, but
Totally. I mean, you're right. Yeah, 100% all the time. And the frustrating part about it for me is that we're getting to a stage now where you've got, say, five or so dominant platforms, and you're looking at the demographics that are on each one, and there's a few, there's issues that we have these days, and is that people that with viral content, we're finding more and more people are just jumping on that content so that they can push their own agendas and their own things, and it's not really nice.
Yeah.
And then the other side of it is just, if you're, I suppose this just is what it is. If you've created this whole community and this whole hub, and you still can't speak to every single one of them. You just have to hope it reaches. So you talk about an upcoming show, and then there could be one of your avid fans, but they haven't heard about it. It's just the way algorithms, I guess is the word I was looking for, work. It's crazy. I mean, I've had content on TikTok, like literally do 1 million views on a piece, and the next day I've got 6 views, and I'm like, shall I throw my microphone away? Is this it for me? Am I done?
I know exactly
I'm terrible. It's over for me.
Yeah. I used to check how many likes, how many followers, and if a follower went down by 2 or 3, like, what have I done wrong? And now I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I just keep doing what I'm doing, and eventually it'll get bigger and more and greater, etc., etc. So,
and I've learning this through some of my younger family members, my nieces and my nephews, and they're all getting into this space, whereas I grew up kind of getting into the internet, and I thought my first phone was as long as my swimming pool, and it was a situation where now people getting affected just by other people's world and other people's lives. And what I try and teach my relatives is, hey, we don't share all the bad stuff and the hurdles in our lives. We celebrate all the good things. You have to remember that in between all those posts from people, there's real life stuff.
When you do stand-up, do you ever do interaction with the audience?
Not intentionally, but I've had a few situations this year which have been interesting. Like I had a show in Brisbane, Australia, where a lady at the back of the arena she just wouldn't. I don't know if I couldn't even hear what she was saying, but it was really rattling the room like a heckler. So I had to kind of deal with that. So I went into parliamentary mode and honorable member. It's time to leave the house. So people appreciated that. On the opposite side of the scale, I did a show. I think we just come out the pandemic, so everyone been through a lot. This lady was sitting in the front. She was so sweet. She was just like, she had a little handbag on her lap, and she was enjoying the show, it seemed. And then towards the end of the show, I came back and I looked through the lights, and she was in tears. I'm like, whoa, okay. So we went from laughter to now we're just simply crying.
Yes.
Have I said something wrong? Like, what's going on? So I kind of stopped, and I said, are you all right? And she just said, I've never laughed this hard in such a long time. And I'm so happy, and I don't know why I'm crying. So I had an Oprah moment. I hugged this lady, and with everybody clapped, and unfortunately I couldn't offer everyone a free car, but we had a great time.
Yes. Putting out there that will happen in a couple of years' time.
Maybe.
Yeah, a car for you, a one for you, a one for you.
Yeah,
and maybe a little
car.
toy car for the person in front.
We're all getting Teslas.
So obviously you've got this tour. It's coming to South Africa, and so what's next in the pipeline?
Sure. So we will be evolving this tour, although what SA is going to get is just amazing as far as the production is concerned. And then we're going to take this tour firstly to regional Africa, which I'm really excited about, and also using that as a way to show people how incredible our continent is and the people that are out there waiting for entertainment. The big one next year is the US for me. I'm very excited to be finally taking my tours to the US, and hopefully, just continuing to grow my brand in that space, and taking just when I say the message of Africa, it's who we are as people, our culture, and our soul to the rest of the world. And I feel like it's a great time to be able to do that, because there's so many artists and people in the entertainment industry doing that right now, and there's a huge, beautiful spotlight on Africa, and it's our time. So, yeah.
Now people obviously have the misconception that No offense to anyone that we here in South
Yeah.
Africa or in Africa, we walk around with elephants, we walk around with tigers, we walk around with lions. There's still this misunderstanding of what Africa is. And Kevin, the podcast is listened to throughout the world. So as a final message to the audience, what would you like to say?
What would I like to say? Do you know what? If you're not happy doing something in your life, especially after what we've been through the last few years, change it. You have the power to do what you love. I think you only live once. People say, you know what, you only live once, but you only die once. That's quite dramatic. But think of that. You only die once. So just get busy living.